welcome, guys. So I'm going to get kicked right off this morning. So last night, before my daughters went to bed, you know how it goes. You're finally getting the kids ready for bed. You're heading that direction, and all of a sudden there's like a on the window, and that of course freaks my daughters out. They're like, "What is this? What is this sound?" And sure enough, I don't know where you're at in the nation or what kind of weather you're experiencing, but for us, the June bugs are back. These are these ridiculous little fat bugs that I don't know. I don't know, like if they get concussions. I don't know, because all they do is they spin and they slam themselves into a window because they see a light, and so they just keep running into this light. Or again, if there's a window in the way, they just keep running into this window. Give me a thumbs up or a comment if you guys get these at your place. Yeah, so they're starting to come out again, and of course, man, it's been about a year since they came out since last time. So here we are, approaching spring, and the June bugs are back out, smacking against the window. And of course, the question came up, "Hey, good morning, Sheila. Sheila, I was just asking. I don't know if you have any June bugs down in your area, but last night I'm putting my daughters to bed, and for the first time this year, we've hearing these June bugs smack up against our window. It kind of startled them, and it led to the question of why do they do that? Okay, so of course I'm a curious kind of guy. I go look it up. Lots of different reasons. I mean, there could be anything from trying to navigate, which I'm a little hesitant to agree with that one because I can't really see a June bug navigating, because my experience with June bugs is that they run into walls. They also say that it could be like they believe that pheromones are being emitted from the light, like a female June bug. Or anyway, the point being is they keep running up against this wall, and really that conversation leads to kind of a different question, which is how would things be different for the June bug if they could see the glass? So I know that sounds a little bit odd, but I'll say that again. We see these June bugs smacking into a window over and over again, trying to get to the light. And my question is, what if they could actually see the glass? How would a June bug's entire existence be different if it didn't run its head up against this glass wall? But yeah, I thought that was very fitting because last week we talked a lot about creativity. And so if you didn't get a chance to check it out, last week during episodes 22 through 24, had a chance to talk about creativity and really hopefully give you some things that really help you think about and break down some of those barriers for yourself, which I find to be helpful. One, which is that there's different levels of creativity. So for example, Kaufman and Bagetto talk about 4 different levels. You say, oh my gosh, I'm not creative. I can't, paint like Picasso. Well, that's big C. That's the highest level of creativity. And where we exist in our daily life is more of a mini C, MINIC, which is like you're trying something new and you're figuring things out. Or little c, which is you're doing a creative endeavor that has impact on other people around you. So that was super helpful because that really let us know that you're not going out there for eminence every single day or trying to write the best song or trying to write the the great American novel. And the second thing I found to be helpful was talking about how it's not this big general overarching thing. You either have it or you don't. Not creative. I can't draw stick figures, but more of domain specific. So you can be creative, in your drawing, of course, but you can also be creative in baking. You can be creative in your interpersonal relationships. You can be a creative accountant. Hopefully not shady. Just, every field has its own kind of methods of creativity to it. And I shared this example last week, and this last thing I'll say, which is a creative artist is not the same thing as like a creative surgeon. Different levels and different types of creativity. So that was super helpful. Again, that was last week's talk. But even though we recognize those things, the fact that, hey, it's within inside what I'm passionate about, within inside my domain, I'm not shooting for eminence. I feel a lot of times that we hit these invisible barriers. I have found that with working with kids. I have found that with working with adults, and total transparency, no pun intended, back to the window. I have found it with my own life, right? That we continue to hit these barriers that exist, these invisible barriers that we keep running up against. So what I want to do this week and kick off today with is I want to give you some practical tips for how to work through that invisible barrier, and also just for you or the people that you work with or the students that you guide or the kids in your own home, just the things that you can begin to use and apply. So it's interesting. I'm going to just jump real fast, right? I'm going to do a divergent jump to a parallel topic, but hopefully you can see the connection. So the Buddha, when he gave the Four Noble Truths, the first one is this part about, it's all about suffering, right? So we have to recognize the suffering. So I won't go too far. I'll just say this. He mentions that. He mentions that the first part is being able to see this suffering, because the only way that you're going to find a path out, that fourth piece, the only way you're going to find a path out is if you're able to identify and see that invisible barrier, that what that suffering is. Okay, so now I'll jump back real fast and say this. What is that invisible barrier for you when it comes to being creative? Again, we all have it, and we all work through these in some way. So I'll just kind of share some that typically fall out there, which is, it's if I say, hey, I want you to create something out of cardboard. Well, I'm not sure what to do. Let me go look on Pinterest. Oh shoot, I can't do anything like this. These guys are amazing. What's really happening? So a couple things there is, you're comparing yourself to somebody else. Maybe that's your barrier. Maybe you're worried about judgment, other people seeing what you put out there. And so what are they going to think? What are they going to think not only about what you created, your art, but what are they going to think about you? Oh man, that's weird. Why'd you build that out of cardboard? And again, I'm making this up, but I'm just saying that we all have these barriers that are out there. And I know, like, there's also there's opinions of you. There's a bunch. So be thinking about that, because I'll go back to that parallel piece. The only way to work out of that suffering and find a path past that barrier or through that barrier is to identify it first. All right. So as you begin to think about that, let me give you your practical tip, and one that you can use for yourself, again, for people you live with and work with and support. And that is resistance to closure. Being uncomfortable in the silence and the awkward. Okay, not being awkward. Sorry, that's me. That's different. But being comfortable in the awkward. Resistance to stopping that in creative endeavor, and resistance to closure. So I don't want to undo what I said. Creativity is domain specific, and there are different levels. However, there are also different types of personality traits and modes of thought, and dispositions. There are different ways, again, of thinking that tend to correlate positively with creative output and endeavors. So I'm not undoing what I said. The creative surgeon and the creative artist and the creative baker, they tend to demonstrate a different type of, or not different type, sorry, a personality trait that is similar. And one of those personality traits I want to share with you now is resistance to closure, meaning that you leave things open and you don't say that there is perfection. So how can you take this and use this very, very practically as you're thinking about the things that you create, or again, giving feedback even to students that maybe you teach, or the kids in your home, right? You're having to be a teacher and you've got to give feedback to them. So how do you resist closure? The first part is ask these open-ended questions, because you have to believe that perfection is not attainable, right, inside of the artistic field. So I brought a little example here. If you saw one of our From the New Minds vaults, this is one of my kids did a Zen tangle with Mr. T. You can check that out. I don't want to get the episode wrong, but it was one of our From the New Minds vaults. Really fun. He talks about Zen tangle, and then also he uses it to construct these faces. So regardless of if it's my daughter or not, you would look at this and you're going to keep this, again, thinking to yourself, this will never be perfect. Okay? And I'll share a quote with you here in a second that really reinforces that. But this will never be perfect. And I'm not thinking of right and wrong. I'm not thinking of yes and no. I'm not thinking of binary. This is good or bad. Erase that. I'm thinking of almost like this infinite continuum of the scalar quality, right? And so I look at this and I say, oh, wow. Okay, so how did you do this piece here? All right. And what did you do down here? Watch this. Okay, cool. Man, I see you put a lot of time into this piece. Man, if you had more time, what else would you add over here? I hope that gives you a quick example. Again, working with somebody else or even working with yourself. Man, if I had more time, what would I do differently? Just because you finished baking that thing and you're happy with it, resist closure. Come back again and try baking it. What would you do different next time? What have you learned from this experience? See those open-ended questions that are reinforcing that this piece of art is never done. Now, guys, I want to be clear. This is not just about grading art. I worked with seniors at a high school level working on their senior level portfolio. This is their year-end culminating project. And I would ask those same questions that prompted resistance to closure for the kids. And you should have seen their minds melt, because it'd be this, like they're working on this portfolio, they're getting it together. And part of my year-end evaluation for the portfolio were questions like, well, cool, now that you've done this, what's next? If you had to do this portfolio over again, what would you do different? And at first blush, they thought that I was unhappy with it. Right? Doesn't that sound like I'm unhappy? Well, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. Oh, well, good. Well, what would you like about it? Okay, well, again, yeah, if you were, and then what you're getting at is that it's never done. And okay, so that hopefully gives you some tips that you can take and go use, and even some wording. Oh, cool. I'm getting some comments here. Cool. It says, does resistance to closure correlate with perceiving on the Myers-Briggs? Man, okay, so I don't know about the Myers-Briggs. I do know about the 5-factor personality model, Sheila. So there's the ocean model, the openness to experience, conscientiousness. Google search it. But yeah, part of that is they do redefine, and they do use openness to experience. It's the same kind of idea, which is I'm going to be open to this experience. I'm going to keep going with it. I'm not just trying to like have it and be done. I'm just going to do this thing. Those aren't obviously, they're not exactly synonyms, but there's a lot of information that you can find on the 5-factor personality, called the Big Five or Ocean or FFM, and you can find a lot of correlations there. So great question. Oh, and another point: students are so used to finishing assignments and turning off the thinking. I love the idea of what else would you do if you had more time. Oh, again, 100 times over, a huge thank you. Because it's a fair question, and it's devoid of judgment, and it's really telling the kid that you know full well that if they had more time to work on it, they would put more into it, because it's never done, it's never closed. So, okay, let me recap and then kind of leave you with a quick announcement. So, start with the June bugs, right? So the June bugs here in Texas, again, I don't know if you have them where you're at. Ours, I guess they've been here for a while, but we had the first window incident where they keep running into the window. That happened last night. And that was a way to think about, man, they keep hitting this invisible barrier because they're trying to get to something. And that draws a parallel to our life, which is, man, as we pursue these creative endeavors, we keep hitting this invisible barrier, which is our internal visible barrier that we put there. And that the only way to get through that, going to the whole Buddhist teaching, is to really begin to acknowledge it, right, and see it, and say, like, where does this invisible barrier, where does this suffering come from? Now, that's going to be different for everybody. Maybe it's you've been judged in the past on what you've created. Maybe you're worried about other people. Maybe you need approval, or maybe you're seeking approval. Maybe that's what is keeping you from reaching that potential of creativity. So how do you begin to work through that? Again, it's individual for everybody, but an example is to keep pushing and never truly close, and recognize that perfection inside the creative domain doesn't exist, right? If you had more time, if you had a million years and a 1,000 monkeys, and you come up with Shakespeare. I don't know why I quoted that, but yeah, there's a quote I said I would read. Let me pull it up here real fast, because I think it really ties into it. It's from Jean Cocteau, and it says, "A work of art is never finished, merely abandoned." Now, abandoned for us has a lot of negative connotations, but I like to sit inside that and think about it, because this work of art that you keep working on, clearly, is never done. You just have to either turn it over to the public, right? You have to abandon it in some way. You've got to get it out there. So I hope that gives you some reinforcement for the day and a strong reminder that you are a creator, and I can't wait to see what you create. Now, I've mentioned a couple times moving into the announcements about cardboard. This week is the cardboard challenge. So on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, my family and I will be kicking off the newminds.tv cardboard challenge, and it is in celebration of Earth Day by focusing on repurposing and recycling and upcycling. Okay, this is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and for the first time, they're not able to have any kind of public gathering or a celebration. So the Earth Day Foundation organization, they have asked people to put on virtual events, and then, man, what great synergy, because we always do a cardboard challenge, and we weren't able to do it face-to-face either. So we're doing ours online. All right, Tuesday night, I'll be kicking off with my family, and the whole website, newminds.tv/Earth Day 2020, it will be open with challenges at that time. And the reason it's at Tuesday night, which is not technically Earth Day, for us in the U.S., is because it will be Earth Day for our friends in Vietnam. And so I'll have a chance to pass that off around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'll be passing that off to the Vietnam team. Her name is Katina. She's a wonderful inspirator, wonderful teacher. She'll be taking the challenge up, and she's working on her own project too. And in her words, I'm super excited. I love to make stuff. I just don't find the time to do it. I teach kids how to make stuff. So I'm excited to have a chance to make something. Those are her words. So how cool, right? And then from there, it gets passed on to the Lebanon team. Again, an amazing team. And I don't know, I'm a little bit humbled to be inside their presence. Two incredibly intelligent women who are well-versed in everything from ecology to naturalism. And anyway, so they're going to take this thing. They're going to take it their direction. They're going to create. And I am very open to seeing what they create. And then, so then Wednesday morning, by the time that I say hello and good morning, the cardboard challenge will have been going on for the past 14 hours, and we'll continue the whole day. And so there is, of course, a flyer if you get a chance. I know this is low tech here to hold up a piece of paper, but if you get a chance to go check out newminds.tv/Earth Day 2020, that's the website. The challenge will be posted there, that Tuesday night at 7. And my ask of you is this: create something, okay? Maybe this is a baby step for you, or maybe this is like baby for you, but just create something with cardboard. There are challenges there. But by all means, at the very least, create something and share it, because really the only way to create something and get better at creating is to create something. All right, guys, thank you so much for kicking off this week with me. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for the shares and the likes. I hope that you can recognize that this is real. This is inspired. This is our team. And it's so cool to see our team every day out there broadcasting, because you can just tell they live this stuff, right? Mr. T in a meeting said, what you see is what you get. This is us. This is us every day. We're fun. We're goofy. We make mistakes. We learn from them. We love each other. We extend grace. And so many more. So I'm so blessed to be where I am today. And I'm so blessed to be a part of this broadcast and be with you. And of course, if you have questions or comments or concerns, let me know. And I will talk to you guys later. Have an amazing day. And I don't know where the end button in it. I found it. I found the end button. I said making mistakes, right? Or am I just resisting closure? All right. Like I said, this is us, cheese puff and everything. All right, guys, have an amazing day. Go out there, inspire somebody, and be sure to like and comment and share.